Hey everyone, thanks for listening to the Grow Your Life podcast. My name is Jeremiah Krakowski. On this podcast, I talk about how coaches, trainers, mentors, speakers, and nonfiction authors can reach more paid clients in mentorship, membership, coaching, or online course businesses, and how to be able to make six figures, it's over $100,000 a year, or even seven figures, that's a multi-million-dollar income, serving other people, helping others, without having to burn out and spend hours and hours and hours doing it yourself. Okay? How to move out of the one-on-one coaching grind and into a group or membership model where you basically get paid by each member each month, and you can scale infinitely. We've scaled these businesses to thousands of clients and generated tens of millions of dollars per year with these same business models. I've been doing this in this industry for over 21 years, successfully working with some of the top, most financially successful trainers and mentors. And in my own business, we've generated multiple seven figures over the last year and a half. And I want to show you how you can be successful yourself. This podcast is your gateway to being able to reach the results that you want. Most people struggle with this because they're not willing to actually look at the hard things. And what are the hard things that people don't actually look at? It's actually that what makes you the most financially successful as a coach, trainer, or mentor, somebody who sells courses, has a membership, has a coaching program. Basically, if you fall into any of the categories that I just mentioned right now, this is for you, okay? And if you're struggling to make the kind of money that you want to make, maybe you're not bringing in six figures, or really my goal is I want to get you to multiple six figures. $500,000 to $1 million a year, and that is going to revolutionize and transform your life, okay? Some of y'all might be like, well, I'm just starting out. I'm little old me. I'm not sure if I could do that. I promise you this, you can. Now, of course, you're going to have to do the hard things. Is it guaranteed that you're going to get there just by listening to this podcast episode? No, that would be crazy to even promise something like that. But if you're willing to figure out what is not working, what needs to change, you can be successful. One of the biggest areas that I notice with coaches, trainers, and mentors that I talk to, that I work with, that are on my social media, that are in my coaching groups, is the need to do everything right. Now, of course, excellence, integrity, honesty, so important. Kindness, compassion, impacting people. But the problem is, sometimes the values that you have are preventing you from making the kind of money that you want to make and moving into a group coaching business because you have certain values that are immovable, certain convictions that you feel, oh, I can't not do these things, certain things that have such a tight grip on your behavior and beliefs that it's actually stopping you from being able to create the kind of income that you want to make. You know, one of those is this, one that I hear often from many of the coaches, trainers, and mentors that I have is, well, I just don't have any time to not be making money. And I gotta fill in every blank space in my life that I have with productive hours of time. Can I tell you this? Giving yourself time for guilt-free play is one of the most positive things that you can do. And it goes against, quote unquote, the right way to do things that you're preached at on social media. There's productivity experts that are telling you to stop wasting time and how to not do so, when in fact all they're doing is serving a dysregulated emotional response that often comes in from trauma that makes you feel like I can't relax and I have to stay on all the time and I have to stay hyper vigilant and make sure that I'm always productive or I'm a failure. And you tie your identity to your productivity. I dealt with this for a long time. And it's an area that I would actually recommend that you learn how to unwire inside of yourself to be more successful and to start to give yourself more time to play and to have fun. Another one is people who value art and beauty and things that look really aesthetically pleasing. This one's a big one. And I've worked with a lot of great coaches and mentors that have this value. Unfortunately, in the beginning, before you're making $1 million, and I really wouldn't even touch this until you're making 1 to 2 million at all, focusing your energy on aesthetically pleasing websites, branding, courses, making everything look good is the worst possible thing that you can do. Now, you may not agree with me because you might say, well, you have different values than me, Jeremiah. We're just different people. I mean this with all due respect, but it's one of the single biggest areas with working with thousands of coaches and mentors over the years that I see people cling to so tightly as, well, that's just my values. That's just my personality. And those same people don't make the kind of money that they want to make. They're burnt out, working way too hard to produce very, very little because of the need, quote unquote, to make things look super professional. I wouldn't worry about that until you're making at least $1 million to $2 million. It's not going to add to your bottom line. And it's only a waste of time. That energy could be spent on what actually will produce financial results for you. The common thing that I see, it's the majority, not the minority. The minority, there's maybe a 5% outlier that this isn't the case with, but with 95% of people that I see that have a value for visually pleasing aesthetics in their business is that they don't make the kind of money that they want to make until they actually loosen up just a little bit on that. And they stop trying to make everything perfect. And they actually realize that the words that they say, how they connect with people online, being able to make a connection with somebody has nothing to do with how you look. Because that's an outward appearance. What matters more is the deep nature of that connection that you make. And you can do that with simple words and simple graphics and images that you do not need to invest hours and hours and hours into making things look more visually appealing. And this is one of those areas that I meet people that they believe unshakably is so important to them to make sure that they get this right before they can put themselves out there. And those people, the majority, do not ever make the kind of financial income that they actually want to make and the potential that they have because they are letting their values prevent them from putting themselves out there to make the kind of money that they want to make. I find that a great sadness and a great disservice and something that is really not a healthy way of thinking to operate that way as a business owner. You can do that as a hobby. You can do that for fun, but not as a business that pays you full time. That's just not responsible in any possible way whatsoever. And so I would recommend, this might be one of the hardest, most painful things that you have to do, is to loosen up just a little bit on making everything look and appear perfect. Here's another one, and it's closely related to this. The need for everything to be complete when they put it out there. I strongly believe in what we call the alpha release approach to coaching and training and releasing an underdevelopment program that you're still improving on over time instead of spending all of this energy making everything a completion before you put out there. I see a lot of people, they do this, and it makes me sad because I talked to them 10 years ago and they tell me, Jeremiah, I'm getting everything complete before I can launch it. And I talk to them every year for 10 years and they still haven't even made a little bit of progress because they're working so hard to make everything complete. And it's this identity of perfection, this identity of I appear finished, I appear done, I look good enough to other people that I see that stops the potential for making 6 and 7 figures in most of the coaches and mentors that I work with. I would rather you start imperfectly, make a ton of money, and then refine it over time. Then what I see the alternative is, and this is, again, the majority, not the minority. Very small minority, maybe it's not the case. The majority that I work with, that I see that do this and operate in this way, still making everything perfect. And honestly, that's just a level of insecurity. Because we don't believe in ourselves enough, so we feel that we have to present ourselves at a certain level to be worthy of financial success. And that is the biggest lie that I see that coaches, trainers, and mentors believe. Another one closely related to that is I have to be this top level, top of the mountain, best ever expert before I'm ever good enough to put my information out there. What if you launched something that you got done in a weekend on a landing page that looks good, but it's not like, you hired $1 million team that did it. It looks good enough to connect with people. Maybe you don't know 100% of what your next 5 courses are going to be, but you got something ready to get in front of people. And that might make you feel anxious to even think about it being incomplete to put out there. I want you to challenge. What are you trying to avoid? Why do you feel the need to make everything so perfect in your life before you can put it out there? Answer that question and realize that this behavior, that pressure that you're putting on yourself, is preventing you from making the kind of money that you could possibly make. But you are making decisions that are entirely opposed to being able to make the kind of finances that you want by operating that way. And I see this more common, more often than not. Very few people can even go here mentally with me. They feel like it's just way too much to even loosen up on their perfectionism, to loosen up on their need to make everything just so before they put it out there. And it often comes from the need to not disappoint other people and to have people be approved of them. And if it's not that, then it's a high level of excellence that actually goes into an unrealistic personal expectation of pride and ego, that you have to be a certain way in order to be good enough to put yourself out there. And many times that is a form of judgment both towards ourselves and others who maybe don't measure up to what we think is good enough for them to put themselves out there. I'm touching on a lot of stuff that, quite frankly, a lot of people disagree with me on. But the ones who I meet that are financially successful in this business do agree on it, that you have to take action. There's actually a book that I read called 2 Weeks Notice by Amy Porterfield, one of the top mentors and authors that's out there that teaches this type of stuff as well. And she is a self-proclaimed perfection, visual, aesthetic lover. And yet she also recommends the same thing I just said to you. And I love that she says this. Don't even concern yourself with the kind of energy to put behind making things look perfect until you're actually making the kind of money that you want to make, because it will only serve to prevent you from being successful. There's enough that you need to do other than all this stuff that doesn't matter. And so I would recommend, here's what I see most coaches and mentors do, is that let's say that this is the visual of all the stuff that they could do in their business. But this is the stuff that's actually going to make them money. Most of the time, most of the coaches and mentors that I see do all the stuff that really does not contribute to their bottom line at all because of how it makes them look to others. And they're still not making any money. And they maybe do a sliver of what makes them money. And I would just say, let's allocate a large portion of all this energy spent doing all this that does not contribute to the money, and fill that up over here and focus a concerted effort on what's going to produce profits, and maybe just back off a little bit on the perfectionism till you get something out there that's actually bringing in clients. And this process of imperfect action is the number one process that I have seen that has created wealth for the coaches, mentors, and trainers that I've worked with. The ones who are actually successful. And so what I find is it really is only merely arrogance and pride that won't allow us to do this, or a deep-seated traumatic fear of disappointing others. Both of those are not healthy, and they're not going to help you be financially successful. You have to learn that losing business, first off, is a good thing. If you lose clients because, quote unquote, you're not good enough to other people, and they walk away from you, quote unquote, because they're disappointed or they don't think that you're at a pristine level, that loss of income is a good thing. Those are people that are not actually worth you working with, and the amount of energy that it's going to take to work with them is astronomically detrimental to your business. And that's not an exaggeration. It's better to repel those people and to focus in on the ones who really can connect with you. Instead of clinging so tightly to, I got to do all these things in order for people to buy from me. I got to do all these things to get them to trust me and all this. I'm sorry, but most of the stuff that people are doing that they think is required and the amount of time that they think that it needs to take to build their business is the very stuff that will never make them a dime of income. Start doing the stuff that's going to make you money and then start adding more of this other stuff. People do it in reverse all the time. Why? Because this stuff's comfortable. This stuff feels like wisdom when it's the most possibly unwise thing you can do. Even if those are your values in other parts of life. Even if you have convictions in your whole identity that perfection and beauty and excellence are how you do everything, this framework of operating will not produce results for you until you focus in with excellence on what is going to produce finances. And then you start adding in some of the more aesthetic stuff later. And that, my friends, will take you to heights that you never imagined. The other alternative, I rarely ever see those people for longer than a year or two, and they're just as frustrated a year later, but they're stuck on their need to make everything just perfect. And it makes me sad to see this way of operating that people operate in. I'd rather see them succeed. You don't need to struggle as hard as you're struggling. You don't need to be working as hard as you feel you need to do. You don't need to do all the stuff that you need to do. The process for success in this business is actually very simple. But the hardest part is learning that I might need to unlearn and stop doing stuff that I feel is required and that I might even feel I need to do because of my values temporarily in order to produce the financial results that are going to bring in cash flow for your business. This is a controversial topic, and I have a lot of people who, once I say it the way that I just said it, they're like, no, I can't make money more important than my values, Jeremiah. I can't make money more important than my values. You're missing the point completely. I never said that. I said that it might just be about prioritizing what order to do things in. And that will help you produce the most authentic, ethical, and best business you could ever imagine. And I can't wait to see what happens and comes out of this. Those of you that are still listening, you have ears to hear. You're willing to hear this. I guarantee you there are people who turned off this episode 10 minutes into it because it was just, man, I can't make money that important. Jeremiah, why are you so money motivated all the time? Why are you always talking about money? People say this to me. Because when you start bringing in cash flow in your business, everything else solves itself. All your problems and frustrations that you have in your business are solved by increasing cash flow. And this is not about burnout. This is not about working thousands of hours or killing yourself or grinding to produce results. Actually, the way that I mapped out here that you shouldn't do is a grind. And the way that I'm talking about is actually very simple. It's the fastest, simplest, least amount of hours to put in and produces the best results. It actually produces the best results for the client and will actually produce the best results to your reputation in the long run. You may have people in the beginning who don't understand why you're doing it this way. And that is one risk that you need to take, and you need to step out and realize that temporarily you may have people that tell you, wait, that doesn't look good. That doesn't, like, you should be doing this better. And you got to have blinders on and focus in on a system that's proven, that works, and that gets results. And that's the system that I teach to my clients. That's the system that we teach in this podcast and in the live events that I host. I want to see you succeed. The only reason why I'm saying this is for you to be successful. That's it. Do you want to be financially successful or not? That's the choice that you have to make today. And it very much hinges on your ability to, quote unquote, stop doing all of these things that you feel you must do. They could even be best practices that people tell you that you need to do. And yet they're the the most detrimental thing that you could possibly do. You might even feel strongly that these are the right things to do, and yet they are what will prevent you from financial success. Most of all, and one of the biggest, is people pleasing. Needing to please others, needing to make other people happy, operating the gambling addiction mindset of pressing the slot machine of other people's approval. You don't always win, and sometimes you get bit back, but you keep coming back trying to make everybody happy, and you gotta break up with people pleasing. You got to work on it. You got to figure out, what can I work on internally to stop operating this way and to actually start to shift my thinking out of reactivity and emotions driving all of your choices. I don't recommend not feeling your emotions. That's important. I don't recommend stuffing them and putting them down. I'm saying that you get to decide what to do. Your emotions don't make the choice for you. And that will help you succeed, my friends. That's what working with a therapist can do. That's what working with a counselor and even working on our mental health can do as well. And I promise you that if you commit to growing in every area of your life and your business, if you stay consistent, success will happen for you. It might not happen as quick as you want. It might not look like the path that you expected. But sometimes what produces the results we need come in the most unexpected packages. All right? Grow your life, everybody, and we'll talk soon. Have a good one.